My name is Ava Reynolds, and I am 31 years old. 3 days after our family reunion, celebrating my mother's 58th birthday, I opened my banking app and watched my world collapse. My savings account balance was zero. The week before, it had been 418,906. 8 years of careful saving for my first home, gone in a single transaction. My throat tightened so hard I could barely swallow. My hands trembled as I called the bank and tried to keep my voice steady, like if I sounded calm enough, the numbers would come back. The customer service representative confirmed what my brain refused to accept. The transfer had been authorized by Thomas Reynolds, the co-owner of the account my father. I remember staring at the screen and feeling this strange quiet ringing in my ears, like my body was trying to protect me from the sound of my own heartbreak. When I confronted him, he did not deny it. He laughed. "We needed it more than you, Ava. You have a stable job, you can earn it back." And in that moment, something inside me snapped. Not broke, unlock. It was like a door I had been pushing against my whole life, finally swung open. My voice was steady when I replied. "Then you will not mind what is coming next. Before I tell you what happened when that doorbell rang, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if this story resonates with you. Where are you watching from? What time is it there? Let me know in the comments. But to understand why I made that choice, I need to start from the beginning. I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, in what most people would call a comfortable middle-class home. My father, Thomas Reynolds, spent 3 decades as an operations supervisor at a credit union before retiring 4 years ago. He loved rules, loved order, loved being the person who knew how money moved. My mother, Susan, was a homemaker who believed her highest calling was keeping the family together, no matter what it cost, any one person. From the time I could understand words, I understood one lesson above all others. Family comes first. It was stitched into every conversation, every holiday toast, every guilt-drenched phone call. Family takes care of family. Those who have more share with those who have less blood is thicker than water. My younger sister Kelsey was 5 years behind me, and somewhere along the way, my parents decided she was the one worth rescuing again and again. "She is sensitive," my mother would say. "She has big dreams. She just needs support." I learned early, my role was different. I was the responsible one, the reliable one, the one who got scholarships, worked part-time, jobs starting at 16, and never asked for anything. I became the easy child, the one who made it simple for everyone else to keep believing we were a loving family, because I did not demand space for my own needs. When I was 17, my father added his name to my bank account. "Just in case something happens," he said, his finance voice calm and reassuring. "This way, I can help you manage things. If there is ever an emergency." I never questioned it, I never removed him. Why would I? He was my father. He would never. That is what I told myself for 15 years. Looking back, I can see how carefully the foundation was laid. Every family first lecture, every time I was praised for being low maintenance, every subtle message that my needs were secondary, it was all preparation. I just did not know what I was being prepared for. Let me show you the receipts. I kept them all. An occupational hazard of being a business analyst. Data is comfort. Numbers do not lie. In 2017, when I was 22 and had just landed my first full-time role at Bright Ledger, a finance tech company in downtown Phoenix, my parents called. The air conditioner had broken in July and the house was unbearable. They could not afford the repair. Could I help? I transferred $14,000. In 2018 and 2019, Kelsey's college costs kept coming up short. Scholarships fell through. Financial aid was not enough. Mom cried on the phone about how Kelsey would have to drop out. I covered $31,000 in tuition gaps. In 2020, my mother developed a chronic autoimmune condition and insurance did not cover everything. Dad said they were drowning in medical bills. I paid $11,000. In 2021, Kelsey had what she called a business opportunity, a boutique resale shop online, guaranteed to take off if she could just get startup money. She promised she would pay me back within a year. I loaned her $9,000. I never saw a cent of it. Between 2022 and 2024, there were countless emergencies: car repairs, dental work, unexpected bills, holiday expenses they could not quite cover. Another 26,000 piece by piece. The total was over 91,000 in 7 years. I tracked every dollar in a spreadsheet, color-coded by category, dated by transaction. Not because I expected repayment, but because that is who I am. Data makes chaos feel survivable. You know what I never received? Not a thank you card. Not a genuine expression of gratitude. Not even an acknowledgement that I had sacrificed anything at all. What I got instead was, "You have a good job, Ava. You do not have kids to worry about. Family helps family." What I got was the role of family, ATM, while my sister was called the dreamer, the fragile one, the one with potential. Despite everything I gave away, I had a dream, a quiet, persistent dream that kept me going through every extra shift, every declined vacation, every time I talked myself out of buying something nice for myself. I wanted a house. Not a mansion, not a showpiece, just a modest home outside Phoenix with a small backyard where I could plant herbs, a living room big enough to host friends and walls that belonged to me. I started saving seriously when I was 23. Right after my first promotion, I set up automatic transfers, opened a separate high-yield savings account, lived in a modest apartment, drove a 10-year-old Toyota, and made coffee at home instead of paying $6 a day for a habit I told myself was small. My goal was $150,000, enough for a strong down payment in a market that kept getting meaner every year. After 8 years of disciplined sacrifice and saying no to myself over and over again, I had $148,906. I was so close I could taste it. I had already toured 3 houses. The third one was perfect. A 1-story home with a shaded front porch, warm wood floors, and a backyard with space for a garden. The asking price was $710,000, and I planned to make an offer the week after my mother's birthday reunion. Here's the detail that still makes my stomach turn. 2 years before everything fell apart, I almost removed my father from that account. I was updating my banking information, and a representative asked if I wanted to change the co-owner status. I hesitated. Then I called my dad to tell him, and his voice turned cold. "You do not trust your own father after everything I have done for you." I apologized. I left his name on the account. That single decision cost me $148,906. My mother's birthday reunion was held on a Saturday in late May at my parents' home in Mesa. About 25 guests filled the living room and backyard: aunts, uncles, cousins, neighbors, people who had known us for decades. The decorations were tasteful. The food was catered, paid for. I later learned with money Kelsey had begged, borrowed, or quietly extracted from someone else. Everyone smiled, performed the role of happy, functional family for an audience. My father gave a speech about gratitude and legacy. My mother gazed at him like he was the reason air existed. Kelsey stood beside them, introduced as our up-and-coming entrepreneur. No one mentioned her shop had collapsed twice. No one mentioned I had funded both attempts. I sat near the edge of the patio, nursing a drink and watching the performance. Several relatives asked me the usual questions. Still renting? Any boyfriend yet? When are you buying a house? I smiled and deflected. What I noticed, what I could not stop noticing, was the way my father and Kelsey kept huddling together throughout the night, whispering, glancing at me, then looking away when I caught their eyes. Something was happening. Something I was not supposed to see. Near the end of the party, my Aunt Marlene pulled me aside. She was my father's older sister, 63 years old, and the only person in my extended family who had ever looked at me and said, "You give too much." She squeezed my hand. "Ava, sweetheart, You have given enough. Be careful. I laughed it off. Careful of what, Aunt Marlene? She did not answer. She just looked at me with something I could not name, pity maybe, or forewarning. 3 days later, I understood. Tuesday morning, my world collapsed. I was at my desk at Bright Ledger reviewing quarterly reports when my phone buzzed with an email notification. The subject line read, Transaction Confirmation, Desert Horizon, Credit Union. I assumed it was spam. I was about to delete it when something made me pause. The last 4 digits of the account matched mine. I opened my banking app. Savings account. Balance 0. For a full 30 seconds, I could not breathe. I stared at the screen, waiting for it to correct itself, like a glitch, like a cruel joke. Then I called Desert Horizon with shaking hands. The representative was polite, professional, and utterly unhelpful in the way only financial institutions can be. Mom, I can confirm that a transfer of $148,906 was processed yesterday from your savings account to an external account. The transaction was authorized by the owner of the account, Mr. Thomas Reynolds. That is my father. Yes, Mom. As a joint account holder, he has full authorization to. I did not approve this transfer. I did not know about it. A pause. Ma'am, our records show the transaction was confirmed via electronic signature. Would you like me to email the confirmation documentation? Yes, please. I hung up and sat there in my chair, staring at nothing. 8 years. 8 years of sacrifice, discipline, and dreaming transferred away in a single click by the man who was supposed to protect me. The email arrived 3 minutes later. I opened the attachment and saw my name on the electronic signature line, except I had never signed anything. My father had not just taken my money, he had forged my identity to do. I called my father from the stairwell of my office building. Because I needed a place where my voice could break without anyone watching me. I needed to hear his explanation. I needed to believe there was a misunderstanding so badly, it almost hurt. He answered on the second ring. Ava, I was expecting your call. No guilt, no hesitation, just calm acknowledgement, like we were discussing traffic. Dad? My voice cracked. The money, my savings, all of it. Yes, I transferred it. Why? My father sighed the way he always did when he thought I was being difficult. Kelsey was in trouble. Ava. Her business partner backed out. She owed creditors, and the credit union was about to file a lien. They were going to take everything. She was spiraling. I had to help her. With my money, I whispered. Family money, he corrected smoothly, like the word choice mattered. I put Kelsey's future first. I used part of it to pay down her debt, and the rest as a down payment on a new condo for her. A fresh start. That was everything. I had 8 years of saving. I was going to buy a house. And you still can, he interrupted. You have a good job. You are smart. You will earn it back in no time. Kelsey does not have your advantages. She needs support. I heard my mother's voice in the background. Tell her it is for the family. She will understand. My father's tone shifted into the authoritative financial voice. I knew too well. I raised you, fed you, clothed, you helped you with college. This is what family does. We share. We sacrifice. I needed that money more than you did. Something cold and clear settled in my chest. You forged my signature. Dad. On the electronic confirmation. Silence on the line long enough that I could hear my own breathing. I did not approve that transfer. The bank has documentation with my name on it. Documentation I never signed. More silence. Then his voice sharpened. Ava, you are overreacting. It was just paperwork. I had access. I am on the account. You are making it bigger than it needs to be. I did not know I could feel anger yet. Because what I felt was something worse. A clean, calm certainty that I had been lied to my entire life. That night I called Jordan Price. Jordan and I had been friends since college. We met in a statistics class freshman year and stayed close through jobs, breakups, moves, and the strange ways adulthood tries to pull people apart. He was now an attorney specializing in financial misconduct cases, working at a mid-sized firm in downtown Phoenix. Ava. His voice warmed when he answered. It has been forever. What is going on? I told him everything. The joint account, the transfer, the forged signature, the phone call with my father. When I finished, there was a pause long enough to make my stomach twist. Ava, this is serious. Like felony serious. What do you mean? Your father being a co-owner complicates things, but it does not give him the right to forge your signature on authorization documents. If he used a false electronic signature to make it appear you approve the transfer that is forgery, it can also be identity theft and potentially bank fraud, depending on how the bank processed it. My throat tightened. I do not want to send my father to jail. I understand. Jordan's voice softened, but you need to know your options, and you need to move fast. Desert Horizon has a limited window for disputing suspicious transfers. After a certain point, the transaction gets locked in their system and clawing it back becomes much harder. I checked the time. It was Tuesday night. The transfer had processed Monday. I have less than 48 hours. Yes, and Ava. You said the bank emailed the confirmation with the electronic signature. Do you still have it? Yes. Forward it to me. And if you know anyone who can do digital forensics, have them look at metadata. If the signature came from a device that is not yours, that is evidence. I did know someone. Lila Santos was a digital security specialist at Bright Ledger. We had worked together on data integrity audits for 2 years, and I trusted her skill completely. Wednesday morning, I caught her before our team meeting. Lila, I need a personal favor. She took one look at my face and her expression changed immediately. What happened? I forwarded her the bank email and attachment. Can you analyze the metadata? Tell me where this signature originated. It took her less than an hour. Ava. Lila's voice was careful when she called me into a small conference room. This signature was not generated from any of your registered devices. The device fingerprint is different. The IP address is also different. Not your home, not your phone, not your office network. She turned her laptop toward me. The IP resolves to a residential area in Mesa. Is that where your parents live? Yes. My voice came out thin. There is more, she said gently. The timestamp on the signature is 3:21 a.m. Monday morning. Were you awake at 3:21 a.m. on Monday? No. Then someone logged into your banking portal and created a signature while you were asleep. Ava. She looked at me directly. This is identity theft textbook. Whoever did this used your credentials and forged your digital approval to authorize a transaction you did not consent to. I sat there holding the printed report Lila produced for me, feeling the weight of it sink into my hands. This was not just betrayal anymore. It was criminal. I need this documented officially, I said, my voice steady. Can you write a formal report with methodology and findings? Lila nodded. I will have it signed and time-stamped by end of day. And Ava. I am sorry. I am so sorry this is happening. I had less than 40 hours left. That Wednesday night, I sat alone in my apartment, surrounded by evidence of my own exploitation. On my laptop screen, the spreadsheet documenting over $91,000 I had given my family. On my table, Lila's forensic report, showing the forged signature originated from an IP in Mesa. At my elbow, my bank statements and the transaction confirmation email that carried my name like a stolen mask. My phone showed 16 missed calls from my mother. I called her back. Ava. Thank God. My mother's voice came out breathless, pleading. Your father told me you are upset. Sweetheart, you need to understand, Mom. I need Dad to return the money within 24 hours. Silence. All of it. $148,906. Back in my account by tomorrow night. If not, I am filing a police report for identity theft and forgery. Ava. My mother's voice cracked into a sob. You cannot do that to your own father. We raised you. We sacrificed for you. How can you be so ungrateful? He forged my signature. Mom, he stole my identity. This is not a family disagreement. This is a crime. It is not stealing. If it is family. She said the words like a shield. That money you were going to waste it on a house when your sister needed it more. Your father made a judgment call. He made a choice. Now I am making mine. Ava, please, she cried. Think about what you are doing. You will destroy this family. Your father could go to jail. Is that what you want to ruin us? I thought about Aunt Marlene's warning. I thought about 8 years of sacrifice. I thought about every time I had been told my needs were secondary. I am not destroying anything. Mom, I am protecting myself. For the first time in my life, I am choosing me. I hung up. 24 hours passed. No money returned. Thursday morning. I walked into the Phoenix Police Department Financial Crimes Unit with a folder tucked under my arm, like armor. I sat across from Detective Allison Grant, a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a voice that did not soften, just because the story hurt. On the desk between us, Lila's forensic report, my bank statements, the spreadsheet of years of support, and a printout of the fraudulent confirmation email. Detective Grant reviewed each page carefully, asking precise questions. Who had access to your credentials? Have you ever signed a power of attorney? Did you receive any unusual login alerts? When she finished, she looked up. Ms. Reynolds, based on what you have presented, this appears to meet the criteria for identity theft and forgery. The forged electronic authorization is significant. What happens now? We open an investigation. I will coordinate with Desert Horizon's fraud department. They will want your forensic report. If their internal device analysis confirms what you have shown, we will have grounds to pursue charges. She slid a form toward me. This is your official identity theft report. You will need this case number for your bank dispute. I signed where indicated, my hand steady. Then Detective Grant glanced at her screen and her eyes narrowed slightly. One more thing. When we ran your information, something flagged. There is a personal loan for $22,000 opened 5 months ago in your name. Were you aware of that? My breath stopped. No, I never applied for a loan. She made a note. Then this may involve multiple counts of identity theft. The family assault began within hours of filing that report. My phone erupted with messages, voicemails from my mother, each more frantic than the last. How could you do this to us? Texts from Kelsey. You are dead to me. Calls from relatives I had not spoken to in years, suddenly very interested in telling me what a horrible daughter I was. Friday morning, my father called. His voice was ice. I heard what you did, Ava. Going to the police about your own father. You stole my money and forged my identity, I said. What did you expect? I expected loyalty, he snapped. I expected you to remember who raised you, who fed you, who gave you everything. You gave me guilt and expectations, Dad. I earned everything else myself. You think the police will believe you over me? I worked in finance for 30 years. I have friends, reputation connections. I am just the daughter with a forensic report showing you forged my signature from your home. IP at 3:21 a.m. Silence. I am giving you one last chance, he finally said. Drop this. Tell them you made a mistake. We can still fix this as a family. The only thing that needed fixing was my boundaries. Consider them fixed. I hung up. 1 hour later, my cousin Jenna texted. Heard what you did to Uncle Tom. That is cold. Ava. Another aunt sent. Your mother is devastated. I hope you are happy. Only one message felt different. Aunt Marlene wrote, I support you. Stay strong. I saved that one. On Saturday, Exactly 1 week after my mother's birthday reunion, I saw the post Kelsey had created an event page. The header image showed a sleek condo with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the city lights. The caption read, "Housewarming Party. Come celebrate my new place in Scottsdale. Saturday, June 22nd, 6:30 p.m. Cannot wait to show you all what hard work and smart investing can achieve." My stomach turned as I scrolled through the guest list. 42 people had RSVP'd: friends, coworkers, relatives, neighbors. My parents were listed as co-hosts. The address was visible. A new complex in one of the most desirable pockets of Scottsdale. I looked up the listing. 2 bedrooms, designer finishes, estimated value, $385,000. The down payment alone would have been huge. I did the math again and again because data is what I do, and the numbers kept landing in the same place. My father had moved $148,906 from my savings. He said he used part to cover Kelsey's debts, and the rest as a down payment for her condo. My sister was throwing a party to celebrate a home purchased with my stolen money while I sat in a rented apartment, wondering if I had just lost my future. I noticed I had not been invited. Of course I had not, but someone else had noticed. Aunt Marlene commented on the post. "Beautiful place, Kelsey. Where did you get the down payment?" Kelsey replied, vague as a politician. "Family helped out, you know how it is." Yes, I knew exactly how it was. The party was in 8 days. I made a phone call, fan by num. 5 days after I filed the police report, I received a call from Desert Horizon Credit Union's Fraud Investigation Department. I stepped outside my office building before answering. Because I needed air, I needed space to hear whatever they were about to say without walls closing in around me. "Ms. Reynolds, this is Erin Delgado from our fraud resolution team. I am calling regarding case number FHCU 2024065552. I pressed the phone tighter to my ear. "Yes, we have completed our preliminary investigation into the disputed transaction on your account. I would like to inform you of our findings." My pulse pounded in my throat. "Go ahead." "Our internal device fingerprinting combined with the forensic documentation you provided confirms that the electronic authorization for the June 3rd transfer was not generated from any device registered to your profile. The IP address and device match a residential location in Mesa, Arizona, which is associated with the secondary account holder, Thomas Reynolds." I exhaled so hard my knees nearly buckled. "So you are confirming it was fraudulent?" "We are confirming that the transaction authorization was created without your knowledge or consent, using forged credentials. Under federal banking regulations, this qualifies as an unauthorized transfer. What happens now?" "We have frozen the receiving accounts pending coordination with law enforcement. We have also forwarded our findings to the Phoenix Police Department Fraud Division." "Ms. Reynolds, I have worked fraud investigations for 14 years. Family cases are rare, but they are always the most painful. I am sorry you are going through this." "Thank you," I said, because I did not trust myself to say anything more. "What about my money?" "Once the criminal investigation reaches formal charge status, which given the evidence should occur soon, we will initiate restitution procedures. You should expect recovery of the full $148,906 within 30 to 60 days." I ended the call and immediately contacted Detective Grant. The bank confirmed everything. "What is next?" "Next," she said, "we execute an arrest warrant. Do you have a preference on timing?" I had not expected the question, but I already knew the answer. The practical option was obvious. Have my father arrested quietly at home early. In the morning, minimal spectacle, minimal humiliation, it would be easier. Cleaner. The family could pretend it was a misunderstanding. The neighbors might never know, but my mind kept returning to that event page. Hard work, smart investing. I kept seeing my sister's caption glowing against that skyline backdrop. I kept imagining 42 people lifting champagne glasses, celebrating her resilience, celebrating the lie. They wanted an audience for the performance. Maybe they deserved an audience for the truth. Wednesday night, Aunt Marlene called Ava honey. I heard the bank confirmed everything. How are you holding up? I am steady, I said, which surprised me because it was true. The housewarming party is Saturday, she continued. Your Uncle David is flying in from Texas. The whole extended family will be there. Dad has been calling everyone, making sure they come. He wants a full room. Something in my chest clicked into place. Everyone will be there to see Kelsey's big moment. Yes, Aunt Marlene paused. He is telling people you are unstable, that you fabricated the fraud because you are jealous of your sister. My jaw tightened. Is that so? I thought you should know. Whatever you decide, I support you. After we hung up, I called Detective Grant. Detective, you asked about timing for the warrant. I have a suggestion. I am listening. Saturday, June 22nd, 7 p.m., 1812. West Oakview, Scottsdale Unit, 14B. There will be over 40 witnesses. A brief silence. That is unconventional, she said. So is stealing from your daughter. Fair point, she replied. We will coordinate. I need to pause here for a second. If you were in my position, what would you choose? Option A. A quiet arrest at home, minimal drama. Option B. Let everything unfold at the housewarming party in front of 42 people celebrating my sister's success. Drop your answer in the comments, A or B. And if you are still with me, tap that like button so I know you are here. Now let me tell you what happened next. Saturday, June 22nd, 6:55 p.m., Kelsey's condo in Scottsdale gleamed exactly like the photos. Soaring ceilings, marble countertops, designer lighting, streaming golden light across the polished floors. Catering trays covered the island. Champagne flutes clinked in every corner. Balloons floated near the entrance printed with, "Congratulations, Kelsey, you did it." 42 guests filled the space, laughing, posing for photos, admiring the view of the desert sunset, melting into city lights. Kelsey stood near the balcony, radiant in a cream dress, accepting praise from coworkers I knew by name, but had never met. It took grit, she was saying. You just have to believe in your vision. Dad always told me that. My father stood at the center of the living room holding court. I have always believed in investing in family, he declared. When Kelsey came to me with this opportunity, I knew it was the right move. That is what parents do. We set our children up for success. Murmurs of approval rippled through the crowd. My mother floated between clusters of guests, beaming with the satisfaction of someone who believed the story she was telling. Uncle David clapped my father on the back. You always had a head for money, Tom. This is impressive. Nobody mentioned me. Nobody wondered where I was. Nobody questioned how a failed entrepreneur with mounting debt suddenly secured a luxury condo in one of Scottsdale's most desirable neighborhoods. Or almost nobody I saw. Aunt Marlene standing near the kitchen watching my father's performance with that same quiet skepticism I had seen at the reunion. She checked her watch. 6:58 p.m. 2 minutes. At 7:03. Aunt Marlene made her move. She approached Kelsey near the hallway, where voices carried easily. Kelsey, sweetheart, this place is stunning. What did it cost? Around $385, Kelsey answered, smiling. It was a great deal, actually. And the down payment? Aunt Marlene asked lightly. Last I heard you were having some trouble with your shop. Conversations slowed. The music suddenly seemed too loud. Dad helped. Out, Kelsey said carefully. You know, family support. Aunt Marlene nodded slowly. And did Ava contribute anything? Kelsey's smile flickered. What, no? Ava had nothing to do with this. Really? Aunt Marlene turned toward my father. Richard, where did the money come from? The truth, please. You are her father. My father's jaw tightened. Helen, This is not the time or place." "Is it not?" she replied calmly. "Did you take money from Ava's savings account without her consent?" The room went silent. 42 faces turned toward my father. The doorbell rang. Kelsey froze. My mother's smile collapsed. "That would be the police," Aunt Marlene said quietly. My father moved toward the door as if he could outrun what was about to happen. But Detective Grant and 2 uniformed officers were already stepping inside. "We are looking for Thomas Reynolds," Detective Grant announced, badge raised. "This is a private event," my mother protested. "Sir, you are under arrest for identity theft, forgery, and financial fraud. You have the right to remain silent." My father's voice cracked. "This is ridiculous. My daughter is unstable. She fabricated this." Detective Grant's tone did not waver. "We have forensic evidence confirming that an electronic authorization was forged from your home. IP address at 3:21 a.m. on June 3rd, authorizing a transfer of $148,906 from your daughter's account. Additionally, a fraudulent loan of $22,000 was opened in her name 5 months ago." The click of handcuffs echoed across the marble floor. Kelsey stood motionless, champagne flute trembling in her hand. Uncle David stepped back from my father like he had touched fire. "He stole from his own daughter," someone whispered. My mother collapsed into a chair, sobbing. Tom, this cannot be happening." The officers guided my father toward the hallway. As he passed Aunt Marlene, she said softly, "You should have returned the money. You were given a chance." The door closed behind them, and the room erupted into shocked murmurs. Detective Grant remained long, enough to address the stunned guests. "For clarity, Mr. Reynolds is accused of transferring $148,906 from his daughter's account without her consent and forging her digital authorization. This property's down payment was sourced from those funds." The silence that followed was heavier than any accusation. Guests began moving toward the exit in waves. Within 15 minutes, more than half the room had emptied. Kelsey's coworker muttered, "I thought you earned this." Another guest shook his head. "This is messed up." Uncle David approached Kelsey. "Is it true? Was this bought with Ava's money?" Kelsey's voice cracked. "Dad said she agreed." "She filed a police report," Aunt Marlene said sharply. "Does that sound like agreement?" By the time I arrived at 8:10, the damage had already been done. The condo that had glowed with triumph now felt hollow, half empty. Glasses, abandoned balloons drifting aimlessly. Conversations hushed as I stepped inside. My mother lunged toward me. "You did this. You destroyed everything." I raised one hand. "I did not destroy anything. I reported a crime. There is a difference." I set a folder on the island inside it. The spreadsheet, the forensic report, the police case number. Uncle David took it, flipping through the pages. His face shifted from confusion to anger to grief. "Ava, I had no idea. None of us did." "That was the point," I said quietly. Kelsey finally found her voice. "Ava, I thought you agreed. I swear, Dad said you wanted to help." "You knew where that money came from," I replied. "You just decided not to look too closely because it benefited you." The remaining guests drifted out over the next hour, leaving only family standing amid the wreckage. My mother, silent. Kelsey, pale. Uncle David, furious. Aunt Marlene, steady. I stood in the center of the room and said what I should have said years ago. I will not apologize for protecting myself. I will not carry guilt for consequences you created. Dad chose this. Not me. When you are ready to acknowledge that without deflection, you can reach out. Until then, this is goodbye. I walked out without looking. 3 weeks after the housewarming party, my father's case went before the Maricopa County District Attorney. Jordan kept me updated through careful, measured calls that felt more clinical than emotional. "They are filing 3 primary charges," he said. identity theft under Arizona statute, forgery, and 1 count of financial fraud. The federal element could apply because the transaction crossed institutional channels, but the DA is prioritizing state charges given cooperation from the credit union. My stomach tightened every time I heard the word charges. It felt unreal, like something that happened in documentaries about strangers, not to people who had tucked you into bed as a child. What kind of time is he facing? I asked. Maximum exposure is significant, Jordan replied. But realistically, given his age, lack of prior record, and the fact that the funds are being restored, they are offering a plea deal: probation, community service, mandatory restitution, and financial penalties. I sat at my kitchen table staring at the wall while he spoke. Probation instead of prison felt like both mercy and consequence. It felt like a line drawn that could not be erased, but would not completely obliterate what was left of him. He accepted the plea. 2 weeks later, Jordan texted me. It is done. He pleaded guilty. Restitution order signed. I did not attend the hearing. I could not bring myself to sit in a courtroom and watch my father say the word guilty, but I requested a copy of the transcript. When it arrived, I read it alone. The judge asked him directly, "Did you knowingly authorize a transfer using your daughter's credentials without her consent?" There was a long recorded pause before he answered, "Yes, Your Honor." Seeing that sentence in writing felt heavier than any spoken apology would have. 1 week later, 148906 appeared in my new account. The account was in my name only. No CO owners, no emergency access, no exceptions. I stared at the restored balance for a long time. It did not feel triumphant. It felt earned twice. Once through 8 years of discipline, and again through the hardest boundary I had ever set. I closed the old joint account the next day. The representative on the phone sounded almost nostalgic. "Are you certain, Ms. Reynolds? This account has been open since you were 17. "Yes, I am certain. That account was never truly mine." The social consequences unfolded quietly but relentlessly. Kelsey was forced to list the condo within 2 months. The market had cooled and whispers had spread faster than any listing could recover. She sold at a loss and moved back into a rental on the outskirts of the city. Her social media went silent. My mother retreated from church, from neighborhood gatherings, from everything that required eye contact. Aunt Marlene told me that at a family barbecue months later, my father tried to attend, but Uncle David blocked him at the gate. "Not here, not after what you did." That was the first time anyone had publicly refused him access. I felt no joy hearing that. Just a quiet acknowledgement that actions fracture more than finances. They fracture identity. They fracture legacy. They fracture the version of yourself you tell the world you are. Something unexpected happened in the weeks that followed. Lila had anonymously shared my experience in an online cybersecurity support group focusing on financial exploitation. Within days, messages began arriving. "I do not know you, but this happened to me too. My mother opened credit cards in my name, and I was too scared to report it. Reading your story gave me courage. I have been paying off my brother's debts for 10 years because he said family does not keep score. How did you finally say no?" I answered as many as I could. I shared the steps: police report, credit freeze fraud, alerts documentation, emotional boundaries. It felt strange but empowering to turn my pain into instruction. At Bright Ledger, my manager called me into her office. "Ava, I heard about what happened." She folded her hands on the desk. "What you did took courage. Most people would have stayed quiet to avoid drama." I shook my head. I could not stay quiet. "Not this time," she nodded. "If you need time for court, for therapy, for space, you have it. No questions asked." It was the first time I felt supported without being asked to sacrifice. Aunt Marlene became my weekly ritual. Every Sunday evening she came over with a bottle of wine and a pie. She insisted was too large for one person. "You know," she said one night, "your grandmother did something similar to me years ago. Opened a line of credit in my name." I paid it off quietly because I was afraid of breaking the family image. I looked at her across the table. Why did you not report it? Because I was taught that preserving peace was more important than protecting myself. She squeezed my hand. I am proud. You chose differently. In September, a handwritten letter arrived from my mother. I opened it at my kitchen counter. Dear Ava, your father and I have had time to reflect. I am sorry if you felt hurt by how everything unfolded. Families should support each other, and sometimes hard choices are misunderstood. Your father acted out of instinct to protect Kelsey. I am asking you to consider forgiveness. Holding on to anger only harms you. The Bible teaches forgiveness 70 times. 7. Please come home. We can work through this. We love you. I read it 3 times. I noticed what was missing. There was no acknowledgement of wrongdoing, no admission of theft, no recognition that instinct had crossed into crime. I wrote back the next day. Mom, I am not holding on to anger. I am holding on to truth. Dad did not misunderstand. He committed identity theft. He admitted it in court. When you are ready to acknowledge that clearly, without minimizing it, I am willing to talk. Until then, please respect my boundaries. I never received a response. In October, Kelsey emailed Ava. I know I messed up. Can we meet? I hesitated, then agreed to meet in a busy cafe downtown. Public neutral safe. She looked smaller when she arrived, less polished. Thanks for coming, she said. I know I do not deserve it. You do not, I replied calmly. I want to apologize. What Dad did was wrong. What I did was wrong. I should have asked questions. You did ask, I said. You just accepted the answer because it benefited you. She flinched. That is fair. I am trying to fix things. Dad's probation is strict, and it is affecting his ability to work, and if you could maybe speak to the prosecutor about leniency. I felt the shift instantly. This was not an apology. It was another request. Ava, he is our father. I stood up. He stopped being my protector when he forged my signature at 3 in the morning. Goodbye, Kelsey. Do not contact me unless you are ready to talk without asking for something. I left before she could respond. November brought cooler evenings and my first holiday season without my parents. Aunt Marlene invited me for Thanksgiving. The table was set for 2, candles, soft light, a quiet peace that felt unfamiliar but welcome. We talked about books, about gardening, about small, ordinary things that did not carry hidden agendas. It was not until dessert that she said, "You know, protecting yourself is not betrayal. It is survival." I let those words settle. 6 months after the arrest, I signed the papers for my house. It was not the first one I had loved, that had sold during the legal battle, but the one I found was better. A single-story home in Chandler with a wraparound porch, an updated kitchen, and a backyard waiting for flowers. Purchase price, $750,000, down payment, $155,000. My restored savings, plus 6 months of new contributions. I signed every document with deliberate calm. When the keys were placed in my hand, I sat in my car and cried, not from sadness, but from release. I drove to the house alone that evening. The rooms were empty, echoing with possibility. I walked from space to space, touching the walls, memorizing the quiet. This is mine. The doorbell rang. Aunt Marlene stood on the porch holding a potted jasmine plant. For your garden, she said. I hugged her tighter than I had hugged anyone in years. Welcome home, she whispered. I was home. Đông ở đây, đúng nhịp nha. Bạn muốn mình viết tiếp. Fun num num không tiếp tục. I am writing this from the porch of my new house, 6 months after moving in. The jasmine Aunt Marlene gave me has climbed halfway up the trellis, and the scent drifts across the yard every evening. The desert winter has softened into spring, and the backyard that was once dry and quiet now holds rows of herbs, tomatoes, and small white lights strung along the fence. I water the plants each morning before work and drink my coffee where the sunlight hits the porch railing. First, it still feels unreal sometimes that this space belongs entirely to me. No shared signatures, no silent access, no emergency clauses disguised as love. The restitution order was fulfilled in full. The fraudulent $22,000 loan was removed from my credit file within 60 days. Desert Horizon issued a formal letter confirming the identity theft and corrective action. The paperwork sits in a file drawer inside my office labeled closure. Not because it erased what happened, but because it documented it. Truth in black and white ink. My father completed 200 hours of community service and remains on probation. Aunt Marlene tells me he rarely leaves the house now, that he has aged in visible ways, that his voice carries less authority when he speaks in public. I feel no triumph in that information. I feel distance. My mother stopped writing after my last letter. Kelsey sent one more email in January, subject line, "Just checking in." I deleted it without opening. I am not angry anymore. Anger requires energy, and I have chosen to spend my energy on building instead of defending. My work at Bright Ledger has expanded. I accepted a leadership role overseeing data compliance, which feels oddly poetic. I help companies safeguard information. Now I understand what it means to have yours stolen. I volunteer once a month with a local financial literacy nonprofit teaching young professionals how to monitor their credit and protect their digital identities. The first time I shared a condensed version of my story with that group, my hands shook. The second time they did not. What I have learned is this: financial enmeshment is not about money. It is about control. It is about rewriting consent until it becomes obligation. It is about convincing one person that their stability exists to cushion everyone else's chaos. When my father said family money, he was not describing a shared resource. He was claiming ownership over my effort, my discipline, my future. When my mother said forgiveness, 70 times 7, she was not asking for healing. She was asking for silence. There is a difference. I used to believe loving family meant sacrificing everything: my time, my savings, my peace. I believed saying no meant I was selfish, meant I was disloyal, meant I did not love deeply enough. But love that demands self-destruction is not love, it is leverage. Boundaries are not walls designed to hurt others. They are fences that mark where responsibility ends. I am not responsible for fixing what I did not break. I am not responsible for cushioning consequences. I am not responsible for maintaining an illusion at the expense of my own security. Sometimes at dusk, when the sky turns orange over the rooftops, I think about that moment in the stairwell when my father laughed and said, "We needed it more than you." That was the sentence that unlocked something in me. Not rage, not revenge, clarity. The clarity that I had been cast in a role I never auditioned for. The reliable one, the easy one, the one who absorbs impact quietly. I stepped out of that role the moment I filed the report. It cost me relationships. It cost me the version of my family that existed in holiday photographs. But it gave me myself. Back in October, after moving in, I hosted my first dinner here. Aunt Marlene sat at the head of the table because she insisted the eldest always gets that seat. Lila came with a bottle of wine. Jordan arrived late, still wearing his courthouse jacket. We laughed about ordinary things. We argued about movies. We planned a small herb garden expansion for the spring. There was no performance, no whispering glances, no underlying tension disguised as tradition. It was simple, honest, warm. That night, as I washed dishes alone, I realized something I was not grieving: what I lost. I was grieving what never truly existed. I had mistaken obligation for connection. I had mistaken endurance for loyalty. I had mistaken silence for peace. The house does not feel like a reward. It feels like alignment. My mortgage statement arrives each month, and I pay it with a sense of pride, not pressure. The jasmine blooms without asking permission. The porch light glows because I turned it on, not because someone else had access to the switch. I close my journal most evenings by writing one sentence I chose myself. It is not defiance, it is maintenance. Choosing yourself is not a one-time declaration. It is a daily practice. It is checking your accounts. It is updating passwords. It is saying no without apology. It is walking out of rooms that require you to shrink. If you are listening to this, and something resonates, if you have been the responsible one, the dependable one, the family safety net, I want you to hear this clearly. You are allowed to protect what you built. You are allowed to question narratives that make you smaller. You are allowed to require acknowledgement before offering forgiveness. Forgiveness does not require reconciliation. Healing does not require access. Sometimes peace looks like distance. Sometimes love looks like letting go. Before we close, I want to step back and name what happened from a psychological perspective. This was financial enmeshment, a dynamic where one family member's resources are treated as communal property without consent. The language sounds loving. Family first. We share. We sacrifice. But underneath that language is entitlement. When you are told you can earn it back, you are being reduced to utility. When you are told do not break the family, you are being asked to absorb harm quietly. Setting boundaries is not betrayal. It is the foundation of any healthy relationship. Real family respects autonomy. Real love honors consent. I do not know if my parents will ever understand that. I do not know if Kelsey will ever confront the truth without trying to minimize it. But I know this. My life is not waiting for their understanding. It is unfolding regardless. And for the first time in 31 years, it is unfolding on my terms. The sun is setting now, casting the garden in gold. I can hear distant traffic soft enough to feel like background instead of threat. I run my fingers along the porch railing and feel the grain of the wood beneath my palm. Solid mine. I chose myself. It was the hardest thing I have ever done. It was worth it. If this story made you feel seen, if it gave you courage to set a boundary you have been postponing, share your thoughts. I read every message. Protect your peace, guard your future. And remember, love should never require you to disappear.